For decades, China's biggest worry was overpopulation, hence the infamous one-child policy. The government launched a massive campaign in the late 1970s, plastering cities and villages with posters urging families to have just one child. Slogans like "one is enough" became part of daily life, and strict enforcement shaped the lives of hundreds of millions. The policy was seen as a necessary step to prevent famine, poverty, and social unrest in a country that was, at the time, struggling to feed its people. But now, the script has flipped. China's population is shrinking and the government is panicking. The very problem they tried so hard to avoid has been replaced by a new crisis. Not enough people. For the first time in decades, the population is actually declining, and this has sent shockwaves through the halls of power in Beijing. A shrinking population means fewer workers, fewer consumers, and more elderly needing support. The balance that once powered China's rapid growth is tipping. There are fewer young people entering the workforce, while the number of retirees is soaring. This puts enormous pressure on families, social services, and the entire economy. Imagine an economy as a machine fueled by people. When the fuel runs low, everything slows down. Factories that once ran around the clock now struggle to find enough workers. Offices that buzzed with activity are seeing empty desks. Even city streets, once crowded with young families, are noticeably quieter. The birth rate has dropped to historic lows, far below what's needed to keep the population stable. In some cities, playgrounds sit empty, and maternity wards see fewer newborns each year. The replacement rate, the number of children each woman needs to have to keep the population steady, is nowhere near being met. China's economic miracle was built on a huge young workforce. That era is over. In the 1990s and 2000s, millions of young people flocked to cities, powering factories and building the infrastructure that transformed China into a global powerhouse. But today, that demographic engine is sputtering. Now, China faces the challenge of supporting an aging society with a shrinking workforce. More and more young people are responsible for caring for their parents and even grandparents while also trying to build their own lives. The burden is growing heavier with each passing year. Unlike other developed countries, China is getting old before it got rich on a per-person basis. In places like Japan or Germany, wealth came before aging. But in China, the population is graying while many are still striving for middle-class security. This creates unique challenges for the country's future. The government's response? If patriotic appeals don't work, maybe cash will. Officials are scrambling for solutions, holding press conferences and rolling out new policies in hopes of reversing the trend. They're preparing a nationwide plan to pay people to have babies. Subsidies, tax breaks, and even direct cash payments are being discussed. The hope is that financial incentives will encourage couples to start larger families. It's a dramatic policy U-turn, from "stop having babies" to "please have more." The same government that once fined families for having a second child is now offering rewards for bigger families. Billboards and posters now urge couples to contribute to the nation by having children. The stakes are enormous. The fate of the world's second-largest economy could hinge on whether this works. If China can't reverse its demographic decline, its economic growth could stall, affecting global markets and supply chains everywhere. But can you really put a price tag on starting a family? For many young Chinese, the cost of raising children, housing, education, healthcare, is daunting. Even with government incentives, some couples are hesitant, worried about their own financial security and work-life balance. The government is about to find out if money can reverse a demographic crisis. Will cash payments and benefits be enough to change deeply rooted social trends and personal choices? Or are the challenges too big for policy alone to fix? The world is watching to see if this high-stakes gamble pays off. Economists, demographers, and policymakers everywhere are studying China's experiment, knowing that its outcome could set a precedent for other countries facing similar issues. China's leaders know they're running out of time and people. Every year the population shrinks, the problem gets harder to solve. The pressure is on to find answers before the window of opportunity closes for good. The demographic dividend is gone. Now comes the hard part. With fewer students in classrooms and more factories closing their doors, the country must adapt to a new reality, one where growth is no longer guaranteed by sheer numbers. Can cash incentives really change the future of a nation? Or will deeper issues like work stress, high living costs, and changing values keep birth rates low, no matter what the government offers? Or is China facing a problem that money alone can't solve? The answer may depend on whether society itself is ready to embrace bigger families again, or if the era of small families is here to stay. The answer will shape the global economy for decades to come. As China grapples with its population crisis, the world waits to see what happens next, and what it means for all of us. Enter Operation Baby Money. This is China's bold new initiative, a direct response to the country's rapidly declining birth rate and looming demographic challenges. For decades, the government tightly controlled family size, but now, the script has flipped. Starting in 2025, China plans to offer cash subsidies to families who have children. This is a nationwide policy, aiming to reach millions of households, from bustling cities to remote villages. The headline figure is about $500 per child, a significant sum for many families. And the incentives don't stop there. Parents who have a second or third child will receive even larger payments, making the rewards more enticing as families grow. The goal? To make raising kids less financially daunting. The government hopes that by easing the economic burden, more couples will feel confident about expanding their families. This marks a huge shift from decades of discouraging births. The one-child policy, once strictly enforced, is now a relic of the past as China faces a shrinking workforce and an aging society. Now, whether you live in a city or a village, the government wants to pay you to grow your family. The message is clear: every child counts, and every family matters in shaping the nation's future. The plan is progressive, bigger rewards for more kids. It's designed to encourage larger families hoping to reverse the trend of shrinking households. But is $500 enough to tip the scales for hesitant couples? The cost of raising a child in modern China is high, with expenses for education, housing, and healthcare continuing to rise. Local experiments with cash bonuses haven't sparked a baby boom. In some regions, even larger subsidies failed to change minds, as social pressures and economic realities weigh heavily. The government is betting that a national policy will make a difference. By standardizing support across the country, they hope to send a powerful signal that families are valued and supported. But this isn't generosity, it's economic self-preservation. With a shrinking workforce and a growing elderly population, the stakes are high for China's future prosperity. The real question: can you buy your way out of a demographic crisis? Only time will tell if Operation Baby Money is enough to change the course of a nation. Before the national plan, local governments tried their own baby bonuses. Cities like Hohhot offered up to $1,400 for a third child, hoping to reverse population decline. Some added perks like housing subsidies or longer maternity leave. It became a competition. Who could offer the best deal to attract new parents? But the results were underwhelming. No city saw a real baby boom. The checks were cashed, but birth rates barely budged. These local experiments showed that money alone isn't enough. The problem is deeper than a lack of cash. Now, the central government is scaling up, but will a smaller national bonus succeed where bigger local ones failed? Early evidence says, don't hold your breath. So why aren't people having kids? The answer? It's just too expensive. Housing, education, and healthcare costs are sky high, especially in big cities. Young couples can barely afford a small apartment, let alone a nursery. Education is a costly arms race, and healthcare can drain savings overnight. A $500 bonus is a drop in the ocean compared to these expenses. For many, the math just doesn't add up, especially for a second or third child. Until these systemic costs are addressed, a small cash handout won't change minds. It's not just about money, it's about time and energy. China's notorious 996 work culture, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week, leaves young people exhausted. After 72-hour work weeks, few have the energy for parenting. Traditional family support is fading as young people move to cities far from grandparents. The government talks about work-life balance, but enforcement is weak. The result: burnout, not babies. The left hand begs for more children, while the right hand demands endless overtime. No cash bonus can buy back time or energy. Until work culture changes, many will feel too tired for toddlers. Exhaustion, not selfishness, is driving the decision to have fewer kids. There's a deeper shift. Young people's priorities are changing. The old script, grow up, get married, have kids, is losing its grip. Many, especially women, want careers, independence, and personal fulfillment. The rise of individualism and feminism means fewer are willing to sacrifice for tradition. Social media exposes them to new lifestyles and choices. The one-child policy fostered a generation of individualists. The government's cash offer can't compete with changing dreams. You can subsidize diapers, but you can't subsidize desire. Has this worked elsewhere? Not really. Countries like Japan and Australia tried cash incentives. Results were disappointing. France's higher birth rate comes from decades of investment in childcare, education, and parental leave, not just cash. The lessons small handouts don't fix deep-rooted problems. If parents worry about childcare or work-life balance, a check won't solve it. Real solutions require structural change, not just money. China's $500 bonus is a simple fix for a complex problem. Without bigger reforms, it's unlikely to move the needle. On Chinese social media, the government's new baby bonus policy is met with a wave of sarcasm and skepticism. Instead of excitement, the announcement has sparked a flurry of jokes, memes, and biting comments online, reflecting a deep sense of disillusionment among the public. Many see the policy as completely out of touch with reality, like offering a cup of water to put out a raging forest fire. The gesture feels small and almost meaningless compared to the scale of the challenges young people face. The real cost of raising a child in modern China is staggering, often reaching into the hundreds of thousands of yuan, not just a few hundred. From education and healthcare to housing and daily expenses, the financial burden is overwhelming for many families. For young women, the challenges go beyond money. Many face workplace discrimination, with employers hesitant to hire or promote women who might take maternity leave. This creates a sense of insecurity and frustration about balancing career and family. Young men, meanwhile, are under immense pressure to own a home and a car before even thinking about starting a family. These expectations are deeply rooted in tradition, but they are increasingly out of reach in today's expensive cities. These are not problems that a small government subsidy can fix. The gap between what's offered and what's needed is simply too wide, leaving many feeling hopeless about the future. The public's growing cynicism is a warning sign. Many people no longer trust that the government truly understands or cares about their daily struggles, and this lack of trust is spreading. In the past, the social contract was clear. Families sacrificed for the good of the nation, believing their efforts would be rewarded. But today, that contract is fraying, and the sense of shared purpose is fading. Today's generation is more individualistic, more focused on personal happiness and fulfillment, and far less willing to comply with government expectations just for the sake of tradition. The explosion of memes and mockery online is more than just humor. It's a sign of a deep disconnect between official policy and the lived reality of young people. Without trust and genuine understanding, even the best-intentioned policies are likely to fall flat, leaving the core issues unresolved and the public more disillusioned than before. So, will China's baby bonus save its economy? Almost certainly not. The policy is a band-aid on a deep wound, ignoring the real barriers to parenthood. It doesn't address housing, education, work culture, or changing aspirations. Real change would require massive investment in social support and a cultural shift. That's a generational project, not a quick fix. The baby bonus will likely be remembered as a costly, ineffective experiment. You can command people to build bridges, but not to start families. And no amount of money, especially not $500, can change that fundamental truth.